Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple, book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse study through the entire Bible. And we are in Proverbs chapter 4. There is a passage of scripture that I stopped prematurely. I thought I was through with the chapter 3, but I'm going to pick it up, finish in chapter 3, and then go to chapter 4. So let's jump right into it. Let me say this, though, because I resist the urge of trying to mention the millions of applications of how this could fall. Like when he says, cry out for wisdom, how wisdom can guide your path. You can apply this to every area of life. Like I said, there are a million of applications that I can mention, but it's just when you go to the superstore, not superstore, grocery store, and avoid certain, encounters that could ruin your life. And again, there are many ways of doing that, but I'm resisting that. And partially because I think the book of Proverbs can speak plainly for itself. Okay, let me say this: the contrast is between what is wise and what is foolish. A wise person, a foolish person. A wise person is one who fears the Lord. A wise person is one who believes the Lord and obeys the Lord. A fool is a person who does not believe in God, does not believe God, nor obeys the Lord. That's a fool. All right, so let's get to it. Proverbs. This is actually chapter 6. There's a couple of verses that I want to highlight. Again, that I stopped prematurely, but I'm glad I didn't because I want you to see this verse here in verse 27. This is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 27, who says, "When it is in your power, don't withhold good from the one it belongs to." Now think about that. When it is in your power, don't withhold good from the one it belongs to. Now, how many Christians today totally ignore this? Again, I can go on to many applications. But again, if it's in your power, let me also say this. If it is in your power and you don't do good, you are sinning. So verse 28, don't say to your neighbor, go away and come back later. I'll give it tomorrow when it is there with you. Don't plan any harm against your neighbor, for he trusts you and lives near you. Don't accuse. Now let me stop because let me go back. There is a command in the law that says if your neighbor's ox or donkey or mule gets lost, you see his property. He says, don't turn away from him. He says, but grab the donkey or the ox and hold him until your neighbor comes to look for him. And then you can return it to him. Don't steal it. Don't hold it as your own. Cook it. Don't sell it. And my point out sometimes I like to bring out with people is that is a command by God. When you're not doing that, you are sinning. We don't esteem that kind of sin oftentimes as anything, but it is a sin. Notice what he says right here. When it is in your power, don't withhold good from the one it belongs to. It belongs to. Don't withhold good. In other words, if you can do good and you don't, you are sinning against God. I want you to keep that in mind right there. Now look at verse 30. Don't accuse anyone without cause when he has done you no harm. This is big, false accusations. Another way of looking at this is weaponizing whatever against someone. But he says, don't accuse anyone without a cause. In fact, in the law, it tells us to what am I say here? It tells us not to verify in the mouth of two or three witnesses. That's how you establish. But of course, he's speaking to the individual. He's speaking to you. He's speaking to me. Don't accuse anyone without a cause when he has done you no harm. He says, don't envy a violent man or choose any of his ways. Violence is on the uptick, if you haven't noticed. He said, don't envy that. Verse 32, for the devious are detestable to the Lord, but he is a friend to the upright. The Lord's curse is on the household of the, of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the righteous. He mocks those who mocks. He mocks those who mock, but he gives grace to the humble. The wise will inherit honor, but he holds up fools to dishonor. Now, I want you to see something right here when he says, the Lord gives grace to the humble. Peter cites this. There's not one example that you ever see when a person humbles himself before God. I will say this, that even the wicked, some of the most wickedest people, when they humbled themselves before God, like Ahab was one of the most wickedest persons. So much so that God even had a he would say, like, you sin after the evilness or the evil ways of Ahab. But at one point, there was one time, you can say one moment captured, when he humbled himself and God says, I'm going to spare judgment on him for this time. Okay, he did end up getting judged. Another king was Manasseh. And Manasseh, by far, was the wickedest king. His wickedness was so great that because of his actions and what he led Israel into, God says there was no turning back. That's the Babylonian exile, the destruction of Israel, that during the Babylonian exile when Nebuchadnezzar came and completely destroyed Israel, those actions were set in stone by Manasseh. And yet, in his distress, he humbled himself before God, and God rescued him. All right, so verse number 4. Listen, my son, to a father's discipline, and pay attention so that you may gain understanding. Now, remember, discipline is not necessarily, Proverbs is going to bring out spankings. We'll get to that later. The greatest discipline that a parent can do is rebuke, correct, but also teach. In other words, teach. That's how you correct them. The teaching, correction. We'll get to the spanking later, and because I want to deal with that when I get to those verses. But not, right now, when he's talking about discipline, he's talking about correcting. When you're rebuked, there are a lot of children that will rebel against that, get offended. But he says, listen to the father's discipline. Pay attention so that you can gain understanding. If I'm giving you good instructions, don't abandon my teachings. When I was a son with my father, tender and precious to my mother, he taught me and said. Now again, Solomon is writing this, so we have to kind of look at that he's reflecting on his mother, Bathsheba, and then David, the time that he spent with David. And David was a wise man. So he goes on and says, verse 4, he taught me and said, your heart must hold on to my words, keep my commandments and live. Get wisdom, get understanding. And right there becomes the different thing. Get wisdom, get understanding. If you don't do anything else, you want to certainly get that. Get wisdom, get understanding. All right. So he goes on and says, get wisdom, get understanding. Don't forget or turn away from the words of my mouth. Don't abandon wisdom. and she will watch over you. Now again, remember the contrast here is with wisdom. Okay, so that's why it says she will watch over you. Love her and she will guard you. Meaning who? Wisdom. Then it says wisdom is supreme. Wisdom is supreme, so get wisdom. And whatever else you get understanding. Now, if you, like me, grew up in the King James, let me see if the other translation here, the English Standard Translation, has it right here. 7. Oh, I'm in the wrong. Ah, crap. All right. No, I was doing something, but I'm in the wrong chapter here. And what I can do here. Okay, so let's look at 4. I'm going to see how the English translation says this. The wisdom. Where is it now? Verse 7. So it says the beginning of wisdom. 4. Yeah, 4, 6. Please wisdom, hear my sons of my words. I've taught you what you walk. Okay. I'm lingering too long here. Wisdom is supreme things. Oh, verse 7. So verse 7 again, yeah, the beginning of wisdom is this. Get wisdom, and whatever you get insight. Okay, I wasted my time here. The old King James says, get wisdom. Get wisdom. Wisdom is supreme. He says, so get wisdom, and whatever you get understanding. I keep thinking about the old King James. That's why I was trying to find it. It sounded that old King James actually sounds better. That's why I was going to try to get it. So let me see if I can find it here in the New King James. Here it is. It says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and in all you're getting, get understanding. That's why I'm so used to that old King James. But and I like the way it even sounds here, right? Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and in all you're getting, get understanding. All right, so let me move on. Didn't mean to waste all that time there. All right. So wisdom, verse 7 again, is supreme, so get wisdom, and whatever else you get understanding. Like I said, I like the King James better. Verse 8, cherish her and she will exalt you. If you embrace her, she will honor you. She will place a garland of grace on your head, and she will give you a crown of beauty. Who will? Wisdom. Okay? By the way, and if you haven't heard him enough, wisdom, he's talking about wisdom here. Verse 10, listen, my son, accept my words, and you will live many years. I am teaching you the way of wisdom. I'm guiding you on the straight path. When you walk, your steps will not be hindered, and when you run, you will not stumble. Hold on to instruction. Don't let go. Get it, for it is your life. Don't set foot on the path of the wicked. Don't proceed in the way of the evil ones. Avoid it. Don't travel on it. Now, let me go back, because again, notice what he's contrasting. We see the beauty, the value of wisdom. Now, verse 14, don't set your foot on the path of the wicked. Don't proceed in the way of evil ones. So just kind of analyze in your life how many times you've done this, and it has hurt you. Verse 14, avoid it. Don't travel on it. Turn away from it and pass by it. Now, I'm going to say this, that this is something I do strive to keep. I often tell people, how do you stay out of adultery? Don't travel on it. Don't go in the house. Don't be lured by the invitation. Don't be flattered. And I'm jumping ahead because he's going to really deal with all of this in the next few chapters. All right. But notice he says right here. So here's the thing. The wide thing is, don't let me go down that road. If I'm an alcoholic, don't let me go into the bar. If I'm prone to lust, don't let me hang out with luring women. Violence, right? He says right here, don't hang out with violent people, right? Don't who are going to pick a fight. We can go on and on and on, right? You want to avoid a DUI? Don't drink. Verse 16, for they can't sleep unless they have done what is evil. They are robbed of sleep unless they make someone stumble. And this is wicked people. There are people out here, they thrive on evil. They thrive on being bad and doing bad, causing bad. He said, they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. The path of righteousness is like the light of dawn, shining brighter and brighter until the midday. Right? So that's the path of the righteous. But the way of the wicked is like the darkest gloom. They don't know what makes them stumble. My son, pay attention to my words. Listen closely to my sayings. Don't lose sight of them. Keep them within your heart, for they are life unto those that find them and health to one's whole body. Again, the way of wisdom would be that way. Even if it comes down to just what? Going to the doctor. Okay? Taking medicine. Not eating things that's going to cause bad health. All right. Like I say, I'm resisting that because there's so many applications. And obviously, again, what is probably limited to my experience, as well as a lot of people. But anyway, there's a lot of more ways you can apply this. For they are life unto those who find them and health to one's whole body. Guard your heart above all else, for it is the source of life. Your spirit is the source of life. I won't get into this now, but guard your heart above all else, for it is the source of life. Now, by heart, he's not only talking about our spirit, but our inner beings. Later, he's going to talk about a wounded man could survive something, right? And we hear these horrible stories. Person gets shot 40 times and they still live. And he's going to say, but a broken heart, who can survive that? Verse 24, don't let your mouth speak dishonestly, and don't let your lips talk deviously. Let your eyes look forward, fix your gaze straight ahead. Carefully consider the path for your feet, and in all your ways be established. Don't turn to the right or the left. Keep your way from evil. Now again, one of the best things you could ever do is to teach your kids this, because think about how this affects kids in my life. Think about, teenagers in high school, junior high, how they get seductive to following the crowd, being a part of the crowd. And isn't it amazing when you think about, like in school, how every single school is divided up into groups? The jocks, the intellectuals, the nerds, the popular kids, the trouble kids, and how people gravitate to those groups. And Proverbs here is telling us, now the same thing happened in life, right? On your job, you can have people who can gravitate to good people, bad people, productive people, non-productive people. And they always have what? An adverse effect on your life. Proverbs is saying, wisdom will tell you, pick always the right path. Pick always the right path. All right, guys, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. I will see you in the next study.